Okay, this is something from a couple weeks ago. I'm late to the party as ever. I think this is dated, 1:30, January 30th. So remember there was the article about uh, let's offer a pandemic amnesty, and I commented on that one. Of course, a lot of people did. It really riled a lot of folks, myself included. There was a huge backlash to that article, um, but it was significant in that it was the first time you had some mainstream publication and some mainstream writer, even if she was not really known, but she was like a member of the establishment class, the quote respectable class, saying, "Okay, yeah, we were wrong about this and this and this with regard to that little virus op we did, but but we didn't know any better, so let's just have amnesty now for that." Um, and I talk about that article. I think there's a video. However many months ago it was that article came out. I commented on it, gave my my hot takes on it. Well, now we've got this one in Newsweek. In Newsweek, of all places, Newsweek is a publication I have very little respect for. They were just sort of the standard mainstream media rag, but then I think they went through some kind of transformation. They disappeared. I don't think that they exist in print form anymore, and they like uh, not rebranded, but I guess in a sense rebranded. They came back still as Newsweek, but anyway. So occasionally now it looks like they put out material like this that challenges the CW, the conventional wisdom, the party line that's been handed down from the quote unquote respectable class. And gosh, I'm not even sure what to say about this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll link to it. It's worth reading. Um, but I'll go read it a little bit. So it's written by this person I've never heard of, named Kevin Bass. I'll come back to that in a second. So it would be one thing if it were fucking Fauci or fucking Gates, coming out and saying, "Okay, we were wrong." But those guys and everybody, all the other people of their stature and prominence, they're not saying they're wrong, are they? Or maybe they are. Maybe they're sort of going back and forth. They're talking out of both sides of their mouths. It was a lab leak. It wasn't a lab leak, etc., and so on. But they're not owning up to being culpable for creating all sorts of tragedy and disaster and chaos. But this guy is Kevin Bass. He said, I guess that's Dr. Kevin Bass to us. Well, he's still a student, so not a doctor yet, I guess. It's time for the scientific community to admit we were wrong about blank, and it cost lives. Opinion. Okay, so scrolling down. So he says, as a medical student and researcher, I staunchly supported the efforts of the public health authorities when it came to Slovid-19. I believed that the authorities responded to the largest public health crisis of our lives with compassion, diligence, and scientific expertise. Man, I mean, I was there too. Just like you were, Guy. And I may not be, trained to be a doctor, but I could tell that wasn't the case. I could see that wasn't the case. I may just be some schlub, but I mean, what took you so long? What took you so long to notice this? All right. I know I should be generous. I should be uh, I should be glad that you're on the right side of things and that you're saying the things that I like to hear from you. But what took you so long? Did you really think I mean, anyway, you had you had less excuse than I did to feel that way because you're a part of this whole machine. Anyway, I'm going off. I'm going off on him a little prematurely here. And this is a different article than the pandemic amnesty one, because this is one where it's like, yes, mea culpa, mea culpa. As he says here, I was wrong. We in the scientific community were wrong, and it cost lives. I was with them when they called for lockdowns, vaccines, and boosters. I see now. What's opened your eyes now. Anyway, that the scientific community, from the CDC to the WHO to the FDA and their representatives, repeatedly overstated the evidence and misled the public about its own views and policies. Yeah, I mean, I saw it at the time. We knew they were jacking up the numbers. We knew that they were playing up the fear mongering. We knew that they were casting aspersions on anybody who questioned them, including other people with PhDs, other medical experts who took issue with the what Russell Brand calls the cadre of medical professionals and elites who were chosen to spearhead this whole campaign of misinformation. Dare I call it misinformation? They call me an agent of misinformation, but I just sling it back at them. All right, to go on, including on natural and artificial immunity, school closures, disease transmission, aerosol spread, mask mandates, and the vaccine effectiveness and safety, especially among the young. And again, I recommend Russell Brand's video on this. He says basically everything. What else is there? What else was a part of this whole campaign? This whole virus, and then Baj campaign afterwards. What was it but all those things? What were you were wrong about all those things. So what were you right about? Zero. You were batting 0, 0, 0. All right. Amazingly, some of these obfuscations continue to the present day. All of these were scientific mistakes at the time, not in hindsight. Okay, he even admits it. He admits that they were mistakes at the time. He said, I was right with them, and I believed all the things they were saying, and I was going along with it all. But now I see that it was wrong, and it was wrong at the time. It was obviously wrong at the time. So why are you saying this stuff now? I know. I should be generous. I should be magnanimous. I should be, better late than never. Somehow I'm not feeling like having that kind of attitude towards this somehow, for some reason. Okay, he goes on with the mea culpa, but perhaps more important than any individual error was how inherently flawed the overall approach of the scientific community was and continues to be. It was flawed in the way that it undermined its efficacy and resulted in thousands, if not millions, of preventable deaths. What we did not properly appreciate is that preferences determine how scientific expertise is used. And indeed, our preferences were very different from that of many of the people we serve. So that's just basically another way of saying we didn't appreciate that. We had preordained conclusions, and we fixed the so-called science to come to the conclusions that we wanted them to come to in order to further our agenda, in order to further this fear campaign that we were inflicting upon the world for our own nefarious purposes. Well, he doesn't say that. But yeah, we created policy based on our preferences, then justified it using data. Yeah, you cherry picked, and you're saying, and I knew you were doing. I'm just some schlub, but and there's plenty others like me. We all knew you were doing that. I mean, from March to 2020 onward, I knew you were doing that. I was on to you all. Not to toot my own horn, but I mean, it's true. It's a fact. We made science a team sport, and in so doing, we made it no longer science. It became us versus them, and they responded the only way anyone might expect to, by resisting. Hell yeah. Okay. We excluded important parts of the population from policy development and castigated critics, which meant that we employed a monolithic response across an exceptionally diverse nation. Forced a society more fractured than ever and exacerbated longstanding health. Oops, typo there. Newsweek, get on that. Health, not Heath, and economic disparities. Yeah, you took a shitty society and made it worse. Way to go, guys. If I weren't holding the camera phone right now, I'd give you sarcastic applause. So he goes on to say, our emotional response and ingrained partisanship prevented us from seeing the full impact of our actions on the people we were supposed to serve. We systematically minimized the downsides of the interventions we imposed without the input, consent, and recognition of those we forced to live with them. Yeah, you think? You really didn't know you were doing this at the time. It wasn't that long ago. We're not talking about 20 years ago. We're not talking about 10 years ago. We're talking about 2 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. You kept this Bosch thing going into last year. I remember Christmas of 2021 in January, early, winter, January, February of 2022. You were still pushing that jive. Right, in so doing, we violated the autonomy of those who would be most negatively impacted by our policies: the poor, the working class, small business owners, blacks, Latinos, and children. These populations were overlooked because they were made invisible to us by their systematic exclusion from the dominant corporatized media machine that presumed omniscience. Yeah, you presumed that you knew the truth and that everybody else were agents of misinformation and needed to be censored. I really have a hard time thinking that you didn't see that at the time, and this is just some come to Jesus moment. I'm sorry. I can't help but be cynical when I'm reading all this now. Many of us did not speak up in support of alternative views, and many of us tried to suppress them. Most of us did not speak up in support of alternative views. Yeah, none of you did. None of you did. And many of us tried to suppress them. Nearly all of you did. Okay, then he names some people. So when these other people voice their opinions, they face severe censure by relentless mobs of critics and detractors in the scientific community, often not on the basis of fact, but solely on the basis of differences in scientific opinion. Yeah. When former President Trump dismissed the downsides of intervention, he was dismissed publicly as a buffoon. And when Dr. Anthony Fauci opposed Trump and became the hero, the public health community would give him our support to do and say what he wanted, even when he was wrong. All right, blah, blah, blah. Our approached alien... It's hard, I know, I didn't want to read the whole thing, but, there's so many things here that just... I can't just gloss over. Our approach alienated large segments of the population from what should have been a national collaborative project. Yeah, it wasn't something. It was no collaborative project. It was you peons do what you're told. Wear your mask. Do what we tell you to do. Put this thing into your body. Uh, stay home and shut up. And we paid the price. The rage of those marginalized by the expert class exploded onto and dominated social media. Lacking the scientific lexicon to express their disagreement, many dissidents turned to conspiracy theories and a cottage industry of scientific contortionists to make the case against the expert class consensus that dominated the pandemic mainstream. All right. Labeling the speech misinformation and blaming on scientific illiteracy and ignorance, the government conspired with big tech to aggressively suppress it, erasing the valid political concerns of the government's opponents. I mean, okay, all of this is music to my ears in a way. Like, this is like, wow, at last somebody is saying these things. For years and years, not for years and years, but for 2 years, 3 years, they were never. You never heard them admit to anything. You never heard them budge in any way on anything. It was always, we're right, you're wrong. If you're not with us, you're fake news. You are misinformation. You're a conspiracy theorist, and we're going to shut you down. And we're going to, kick you off of the internet and so forth. And it happened to me. It happened to me on this channel. It comes with the territory, For me, I'm a veteran with this stuff. But anyway. So this is music to my ears to hear somebody say these things. Somebody from the quote unquote expert class say, yeah, we were wrong. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. This, in a way, reads much better than that let's extend a pandemic amnesty, because that was sort of saying mea culpa without mea culpa. That was saying we were wrong, but hey, it was a crazy time, and we did the best we could under these circumstances. This article is saying we were wrong, and we should have known better, but we didn't. We still kept doing the things we were doing, even though it was detrimental to everybody, to society, to culture, to I don't know, any sense of community harmony, any sense of unity, any sense that people whose ideas were marginalized were that they were at least being listened to. That was absolutely not the case forever and ever and ever. And now this article is saying all the things that sound wonderful to my dissident ears and to the ears of probably many others. But who's saying it? Again, it's some nobody. Again, not putting him down. I'm a nobody too, but I'm just saying this is not a true representative of the expert class, insofar as this person is not conspicuous, this person is not prominent, this person is not a household name, and the Fauci and Gates and others are still blithely going along, doing their thing after all of the damage that they've caused. So this article to me, feels like some kind of effort on the part of someone within the mainstream, someone within the ruling class, if you will. Some element there, some. I know there are different segments. There are different factions. They're not all. They don't all believe totally the same thing. This seems like an effort made to say to say to the public, to say to half of the nation that you castigated and hated on and treated like pariahs, um, to say to them, okay, guys, we're with you. Please don't turn your backs on us. Please, we we made some mistakes and we're sorry. We're really sorry. So, uh, please don't be alienated. Please don't turn away. Please don't, uh, form parallel communities. Please rejoin. Please rejoin the Borg. Please rejoin the Matrix. You know, that's what this feels like to me. What is it? What do y'all think? I'm interested. Let me know. Thanks for watching.